This is my 1998 Ford Expedition. It's a 5.4 liter 2-valve. This is a winter beater type vehicle, and the front zone of the heating went bad, so it doesn't really produce any heat, and the rear zone is better, but still not great, but better. So I can smell some coolant coming from the front vents over here, so I kind of assume that the heater core is bad. The first step of my fix here is I warmed it up. I have a little Bluetooth OBD adapter that says we're at 179 degrees coolant temp. So it's warmed up, it's getting to the temperature that the thermostat opens, and it still doesn't produce heat. So it's not a thermostat, and we're gonna do a little scoping out here. You can see when I fire it up, the coolant temp is, midway. Could be a little higher. Could get a little warmer, but I'm not gonna go drive it around to do that. I'm gonna go ahead and use a little thermal camera and see what I can find. All right, well, as you can see from this footage, the heater hoses are getting warm. They're in the 100 and some degree, 140 degree temp range. So that's good warm coolant that should be giving me heat in the cab. All right, to get dug into this, first thing I did was empty out all my stuff, because for an Expedition, you need to get the center console out so you can pull the dash back away from, the windshield and the firewall. So first thing we're gonna do is get this console out. We can leave the battery hooked up for this portion because you gotta move the seats around. Okay, as I said, if you have an Expedition, you gotta get the center console out. So if you have an F-150, just skip ahead. For the Expedition, guys, come in underneath here, pull this mat out. There's a screw under there, and there's one right here. Take those screws out. All right, once you have that pulled out, come in here next to the CD player, and there's this little tab on the rubber floor. Pull that guy up. Then take out those screws. So now I got the 2 screws next to the CD player up. I can pull this little trim piece off. Right, like that, pull that back, and get to these little screws. Okay, the trim piece is out. It has like a little fold so that you can get it out. And you can pull the CD player out and unplug it. All right, so we got the CD player out. 1, 2, 3, 4 screws. Now that uncovers this screw and this screw. Take those 2 out. Now there's 2 screws towards the front, right down here. Next, you want to slide the seat all the way forward so you can come into the back seat and get at those screws right there behind that little cover. All right, then come in here with your 10mm and take this harness loose. After that harness has been disconnected, you want to pull up like kind of right in here. There's 2 like little clips. Just give it a good tug up and then go in the back seat and pull backwards. All right, well, there it is. It's out of the Expedition now. If you come in here, you can kind of see how this works. Basically, there's 2 little ears that catch underneath there, and basically sits here. So yeah, now we got a little more room to play. Okay, now we're within a step or 2 of where the F-150s are here. Got our center console out. The seats are sitting. Battery is still connected. What I'm going to do is move the seats both back all the way, and then I can disconnect the battery. All right, so I quick disconnected the battery. Now we can go by taking off the sill plate, the kick panel, and then also the A-pillar, and then the weather stripping that goes around the outside of the door here. Both sides. Alright, so now the pillar is stripped, both sides, all the way down, weather stripped, kick panel, all that good stuff. So you open the glove box, and then right here, this little tab, you can work these and get this door to drop down. There's a tab on this side and this side. Alright, now the reason for peeling this glove box door down is there's two screws up here. One is right there, and the other one is right there, and those two are for the airbag, to get the airbag off. So again, make sure your battery's unplugged. Next, you have to peel this little cover off the top of the dash. Okay, so now I got this cover off, and then I undid this sensor that's for like the running lights, so I can tell if it's dark out. Then you come over here, peek over the edge, and right there is the bolt for the top bolt for the airbag to come out. Alright, so you need to come down here in the middle and grab this little pin, get him out of there. And then take this little rod out here. There's a nut right there where that little red stud is, and then a bolt right here. You take that little rod out. Right, so now we're on the driver's side, and this little clip right here you got to pull out. Same deal with your little trim tool. All right, we've done the passenger side, the center area, and now we're onto the driver's side here. We need to first pull this little trim piece out, then undo this brake release. There's a screw here and at least one behind here, and same here. There's the hood release, and it's got one bolt behind here too as well. Then that also includes here, and then down underneath this rim. So we gotta just take this main kick panel off. Okay, so now that most of the bolts are out down here, we gotta just peel this little cover out. So you just get up underneath here like this. Same on the other side. And then if you run the steering wheel down and play with the blinker and the shifter, you can get this little piece to come off of the steering column. Now that little piece is off, then that exposes the screw right here. And now I think we're free here. With this knee panel taken out now, we can come up here and get after that nut right there. There's another one right here. And then two more in the way back that take this brace and take that support down. All right, so this is that brace, and it's kind of a goofy looking thing, kind of buried back in there, but there's four pretty sizable nuts under there, 13 mils. So just run those off and then take all the little wiring that's hooked to it off. All right, next step is pretty important. Got to get underneath here and undo the little cable right here that controls your shift selector. So, or the readout. So you need to just come under here and take and kind of flick that little cable off of that hook. See how it's barely hanging on there? You just get that cable off of that hook. Okay, there, I got it. You can see that that little hook no longer has the cable on it because it's retracted here. Now I need to take that little black screw right there out, and this whole little white bracket will come down and won't break anything when we lower the steering column. All right, so there's that little bracket. I think it's actually a 5.5 mil bolt, but I used a 7/32, and that got it to come down just fine. Okay, so next you want to grab your trim tool, something like this, and follow this cable. So this cable's on the back of the firewall here, and you want to go up, and it loops around and comes up to a goofy spot kind of above the brake pedal here, and it attaches to a little stud on the back of the steering column. So now we've jumped to our handy cutaway model here, and so this is the stud I'm talking about. It's got this little, like, kind of a point, and so you get up in here with this type of a tool behind the cable, and you just pop it off of there, and the cable, you know, is approaching kind of from this angle. It comes up like kind of like that. So you want to get in behind there and pop it off of there. And then also this is that little hook that the selector gets to. So you just kind of want to get that all you know, taken apart, this cable and then this cable. All right, so with those cables undone, we can go here, and there's 4 nuts just like it. One there, all the way around. And those 4, you take those out, you could lower the steering column down to at least the seat or the ground even. Alright, so now that the column's down, you can see that shift cable that's right here. That's what you gotta pull off of there, so you can just get in behind it with a puller and just pull it right off of there, no problem. So now the steering column is down and out of the way, and we can work on actually getting the dash out now. Alright, so the first screws we're gonna take to get the dash off are gonna be these back ones here. They're underneath those little covers right there. Oh, you fucking whore. Broke them both. So I broke both of the little covers that go over those screws. So I think you're supposed to pry not from the far side, but from the near side. It would probably be the best way that I can see. But anyway, those are broke. Probably a little brittle from the sun. Next point of attachment is down here. You can see that bolt right there. It's the left hand of the two, the one that's on the little bracket. So we'll get that thing run off of there. Next, you want to undo this here screw and the other one that's hiding back in there. Okay, once these two are out, come up here and hit this one and that one, those two. Next two to come out are next to the steering column, kind of on the right side of it. One's right there. All right, so the next ones to come out are these Phillips screws, which obviously are not factory. I'm a little concerned about that, but we'll just pretend we never saw that and take them out of here. Yikes. Right after you get done with those, there's this one that's a little bit further back underneath the cluster. You gotta pull that one out too. All right, and then the last bolts we got, I think, are the ones right near the door hinge, basically. There's one on each side. All right, we'll see if we can get the dash out. I think I have pretty much everything loose. But I'm sure I forgot something, so we'll try it. Oh, yeah. The antenna's hooked up here yet. Okay, that was not all the stuff. There's all this connection down here that has to be undone. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 plugs. If you have air ride, there's one kind of that goes way back in there. And then the ground. So none of that was undone. So now we'll try again. Further. There's a harness like right here that's clipped onto the back of the dash. All right, well, it wasn't the cleanest pull here. There was a connector right there, that guy was still hooked up to a deal in the dash. I'll have to make sure I hook that up. Then this guy, I don't even know what that is. Oh, airbag module, okay. That had these two connectors into it. Nothing too special. And then this guy here went to there. And then you can see the antenna has those two little deals that hooks on. I could probably get another one off of there. But this is doing pretty good. I'm kind of a husky fella, so getting in there is kind of tough. But really, I don't know where I'm gonna go. It's up against the seat. I mean, you take the seat out and get a little more room, but otherwise, this is pretty much what you got. And we'll just have to dance around it. So anyway, that's good for now. We'll see about getting the actual heater box opened up. All right, so we got to take all these little screws out around the lid of this heater box. Okay, now I undid this relay box and this tube, and that is the ticket. So it's this tube right here, this tube that goes to the defrost vent. There's one little screw right here. Gotta undo that, and then it comes out. Now we can actually deal with, you know, what's going on here, which is the heater core. I need to drain a little bit of coolant out of the system, and by a little bit I mean pretty much all of it. I think I'm just gonna put new in. Just so we don't have another clog on our hands. And the blend door seems like it works fine, always has worked fine, so I gotta get that mechanism out as well. Oh boy, look at that. Alright, so you can see part of the problem here is the dang bottom of this thing is cracked in multiple locations. This I think worked. Like it always seemed to change temperature just fine. So if maybe it was just barely hanging on. I don't really know what the issue is there. But obviously I'm not going to put this back in here at risk of having to go here again. So I'm going to have to get a blend door as well as doing the heater core. But yeah, you can see, I mean, obviously that's mostly water. So I don't really know where the leak is just yet, but I'm sure it'll make itself known here in a little bit. All right, well, I'm currently, draining a bunch of coolant onto the floor and not catching hardly any of it. And so that will hopefully get, some out of these top heater hoses, so when I go to disconnect them, I don't just piss a bunch more over on the floor. So we'll see how it goes. I'll let this drain for a little while. All right, so it's kind of late and my patience is running thin for a draining radiator. So I'm going to use my little oscillating tool and get in there and cut those two heater core lines about as short and as flush as I can so that they'll pull out into the engine bay. We'll see how it goes. Well, it was crude, but I would say it was effective. We'll see if we can get this thing out of here. Oh yeah. Money. Alright, so there's those lines. These are similar to the ones that are on my Lightning. If you watch that video, they got kind of a goofy little clip on them. So I'm going to undo that. Now it's a lot easier than if I had to reach back into the cowl and try and undo that. But basically what you do is you pinch these two ends in and then try and pull it out. But that's going to be a two-handed deal. There's plastic O-rings and rubber O-ring, at least one in there. So I'll get this taken apart and ready to put the new one in. Alright, so it's the next day. Again, this is my cracked blend door. This has turned into a blend door replacement adventure. And so I went to O'Reilly's and paid like $58 for this $20 part. And obviously they've made some improvements to the end of that thing so that it doesn't blow out as easily, I assume. There's the part number of the piece I got. So anyway, we'll get this thing installed and see if it lasts. Alright, so here is my new heater core that I got. It's an actual Ford one, and it comes with basically just the core and then some insulation tape to make it so it seals up and that you don't have any blow by. Alright, well, I'd say that's similarly covered. You know, you can see they kind of went around the hoses, and so I just kind of cut up the foam and made it look about the same, close enough. So we'll get that stabbed in through the firewall and kind of sitting where it's supposed to be, and then work on the blend door after. Alright, so now the blend door, the new blend door can go in here. We'll see how this goes. Alright, well, with some struggle, that blend door is now in the spot. I actually, point of reference, don't leave your blend door set to either the maximums, cold or hot. Leave the temperature set to middle so that the blend door goes in easy. I had mine set to hot, and it was like jammed right up against this wall right here. So I had to hook this ground back up, the ground on the end of this this harness down to this corner, and just so I could power it up and change the temperature really quick, and that made it quite a bit easier. So yeah, now we can start putting this thing back together, put the cover back on, put all this relay and the extra defrost tube on there, get that all sorted, there it is right there, and get that all sorted out under the dash. Then we can try and start to swing this mess back into place. But generally that's what we're doing. And we'll see how it goes. Okay, the lid's on now. Got all those screws put in, they're kind of hidden. Got the little relay box installed again, and this little tube, and there's a vacuum line back there. Got that all installed. All right, so now I'm gonna reconnect these two heater hoses there. And the way you wanna prep the actual, this is the little nub that I cut off of my old heater core, but basically you wanna put the little barbed clip, then a black O-ring, then the plastic O-ring, then a black O-ring, and you'll have it just perfect. And that'll be stubbing out of the firewall like this, and then you can just go stab those heater hoses right onto it, and it should be pretty easy. So the hard part's going to be getting these items onto the necks of the heater core, which is just buried back there. Alright, I got those heater hoses both reconnected, and what I found was actually easiest is not putting the O-rings in that little white clip on the actual heater core. Stuff it all into the heater hose, so then you just basically take all that and just stab it right on, and it worked really nice. So that's probably the easier way to do it. Just one of those things you learn as you do it. Alright, so I have all these other pieces to put in, but I'm not gonna put them in until I fill this thing up and check and ensure that I actually have heat. That was the whole point of doing this. So before I bolt all the dash together, before I get everything sorted, it's up there, and it's got like 2 bolts in it, it's holding on, and the rig starts. I got most of my wiring connections made. So we're gonna fill it with antifreeze and see what happens. Alright, well, I took this disaster out on the street, got it warmed up, and the air blowing out of here is about 130 degrees, so it's like a 30-degree pickup. It was like at about 100, I think, prior to doing the heater core, so that's a nice improvement. Anything I'll take here in South Dakota. So I'm gonna put this disaster back together. We got coolant jugs and tools and screws everywhere, but we'll get it sorted here. All right, so it's all back together. Everything's good to go. Got good heat coming out the vents. It's hot enough that if you leave your hand there long enough, it causes a little bit of discomfort, so that's good. And it is warmer than the rear ceiling vents, so that might be the next thing eventually. But this will be good enough to get us by for this winter and probably the rest of the life of the vehicle. So I hope you found this video helpful, and we'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching.